A lawyer sold his well to an old farmer. 2 days later, the lawyer showed up and said, "Sir, I only sold you the well, not the water inside. If you want to use the water, you'll have to pay extra." The old man smiled and replied, "Funny you came. I was just about to tell you. Please take your water out of my well. Otherwise, rent starts tomorrow." A watermelon farmer was tired of kids sneaking into his field at night to eat his melons. So he put up a big sign that said, "Warning! One of these watermelons has been injected with poison." The kids saw it and ran off, leaving the farmer grinning. But a week later, he came back to check the field and found another sign right next to his. Now there are two. A man was riding on a train when the woman sitting across from him said, "Every time you smile, I feel like inviting you over to my place." Surprised, he asked, "Wow, are you single?" She laughed and replied, "No, I'm a dentist." A farmer went to town with his dog and tied her up outside a bar while he went in for a drink. Soon the town policeman came in and asked, "Is that your dog outside?" "Yes, officer. Why?" the farmer replied. The policeman said, "I think she's in heat." The farmer frowned. No, I tied her in the shade." The officer tried again. "No, I mean, she wants a mate." The farmer nodded thoughtfully and said, "Well, why didn't you just say so? Go ahead, I've always wanted a police dog." I went out for a Chinese meal last night and chatted with the old waiter. He told me he had lived in Japan during the war and had been a kamikaze pilot. His code name? Chow Mein. I said, "Wait, didn't kamikaze pilots sacrifice their lives?" He smiled and said, "Yeah, well, but I was chicken chow mein." A patient complained to a doctor that he wetted his bed every night. "Before it happens, do you see any dreams?" the doctor said. "Yes, doctor. Usually I see a dream in which a small demon comes and says, 'Let's pee.'" "Okay," the doctor said. "Next time you see the demon, say, 'No, we've already peed.'" Next time the patient came to the doctor, the latter asked, "So, did you do as I said?" "Yes, I did." "Did it help?" "Yes, doctor, only it made the matter worse." "How?" "As I said, we've already peed." The demon nodded and said, "Then let's shit a little." A nobleman sitting in the main hall of his mansion calls out his butler. "Alfred?" "Yes, my lord." "Could you go outside and water the gardens?" "But it is raining, my lord." "Well, take the umbrella then." A dog sees a "now hiring" poster outside a computer shop. It says, "Must be able to type. Must be able to program. Must be bilingual." The dog grabs the poster in his mouth and walks inside. The manager laughs but decides to test him. "Okay, first, type me a letter." Half an hour later, the dog has typed a flawless letter. The manager is stunned. "Fine, but can you program?" 20 minutes later, the dog has built a fully working website for the store. The manager shakes his head. "Incredible, but you're still a dog." The dog points his paw at the poster. "Equal opportunity employer." The manager sighs. "All right, but there's no way you're bilingual." The dog looks him in the eye and says, "Meow." A woman walked out of the bank and suddenly realized she didn't have her car keys. She rushed back inside, searched her purse, and gasped, "Oh no, I must have left the keys in the car." Running to the parking lot, she froze. The car was gone. Panicked, she called the police, reported the car stolen, and even gave them the license plate number. Then came the hardest call of her life, to her husband. Stammering, she said, "Honey, the car's been stolen. I left the keys inside." Her husband thundered, "Are you kidding me? I dropped you off at the bank. You didn't even take the car." The woman sighed in relief. "Thank God." Then she asked, "Can you come pick me up?" Her husband replied, "Gladly. Just as soon as I convinced the police I didn't steal our own car." At his last job interview, the candidate was asked, "What's your biggest weakness?" He smiled confidently and said, "Honesty." The interviewer frowned and replied, "Well, I don't really see honesty as a weakness." The candidate leaned forward and said, "That's because I don't care what you think." Johnny woke up in the middle of the night and went to the bathroom. On his way back to bed, he passed by his parents' room and noticed the covers moving up and down. Curious, he called out, "Hey, Dad, what are you doing?" His dad replied, "Playing cards." Still curious, little Johnny asked, "Who's your partner?" His dad answered, "Your mom." Satisfied, Johnny continued down the hall and past his older sister's room. Once again, he noticed the covers bouncing. "Hey, sis, what are you doing?" he asked. She replied, "Playing cards." "Who's your partner?" Johnny asked. "My boyfriend," she answered. A little while later, Johnny's dad got up to use the bathroom. As he passed by little Johnny's room, he noticed the covers moving there, too. "Johnny, what are you doing?" his dad asked. "Playing cards," Johnny replied. His dad chuckled and asked, "Really? Who's your partner?" Johnny grinned and said, "You don't need a partner if you've got a good hand." The husband and his young wife were not on good terms. In fact, the wife was convinced that he was carrying on with the pretty housemaid, so she laid a trap. One evening, she suddenly sent Ekayet home for the weekend and didn't inform the husband. That night, when they went to bed, the husband gave the old story. "Excuse me, my dear, my stomach," and disappeared towards the bathroom. The wife promptly dashed along the corridor, up the back stairs, into the maid's bed. She just had time to switch the lights off when in he came silently. He wasted no time or words, but quickly took out his willy and got on top of her. When he finished, and still panting, the wife said, "You didn't expect to find me in this bed, did you?" and switched on the light. "No, madam," said the gardener. A man sits next to a lady at an airport departure lounge bar. Man: "Do you drink wine?" Lady: "Yes." Man: "How many glasses per day?" Lady: "3." Man: "How much do you pay per glass?" Lady: "About $5 each, including tip." Man: "How long have you been drinking?" Lady: "Around 20 years. Man: "3 glasses a day equals $450 per month, or $5,400 per year. Over 20 years, that's $108,000. Did you know if you had saved that money with compound interest, you could have bought yourself a private jet?" Lady: "Do you drink wine?" Man: "No." Lady: "Where's your freaking private jet?" John was serving time in prison when he got a letter from his elderly father. "Son, I'm too old now. I don't think I'll be able to dig the garden this year." John quickly wrote back, "Dad, whatever you do, don't dig up the backyard. That's where I hid the money." The next day, police showed up and dug up the whole yard, but found nothing. John then wrote another letter. "Dad, now you can plant your garden. That's the best help I can give you from in here." Two 9-story buildings stood side by side, their windows providing an all-too-clear view into each other's lives. One day, Alex leaned out of his window and called to his neighbor across the way, "Hey, Michael, when's your birthday?" Michael, surprised by the random question, leaned out and replied, "It's in May. Why do you ask?" Alex grinned. "Because I've got the perfect gift for you." "Oh, yeah? And what's that?" "Well," Alex said, smirking, "since I can see everything every time your wife gets a little affectionate, I thought I'd get you some window curtains." Michael's face turned red, but he wasn't one to back down. "All right then, Alex, when's your birthday?" "July," Alex replied, raising an eyebrow. "Why do you ask?" Michael grinned slyly. "Because I've got the perfect gift for you, too." "Oh, really? What's that?" "Binoculars," Michael shot back, "so you can finally see whose wife that really is." A frog goes into a bank and approaches the teller. He can see from her nameplate that her name is Patty Whack. Miss Whack, I'd like to get a 30,000 loan to take a holiday. Patty looks at the frog in disbelief and asks his name. The frog says his name is Kermit Jagger, his dad is Mick Jagger, and that it's okay, he knows the bank manager. Patty explains that he will need to secure the loan with some collateral. The frog says, "Sure, I have this," and produces a tiny porcelain elephant, about an inch tall, bright pink, and perfectly formed. Very confused, Patty explains that she'll have to consult with the bank manager and disappears into a back office. She finds the manager and says, "There's a frog called Kermit Jagger out there who claims to know you and wants to borrow 30,000, and he wants to use this as collateral." She holds up the tiny pink elephant. I mean, what in the world is this? The bank manager looks back at her and says, "It's a knick-knack, Patty Whack. Give the frog a loan. His old man's a rolling stone." You sang it, didn't you? Yeah, I know you did. Never take life too seriously. A man and his young wife were in divorce court, but the custody of their children posed a problem. The mother gets up and says to the judge that since she brought the children into this world, she should retain custody of them. The man also wanted custody of his children, so the judge asked for his justification. After a long silence, the man slowly rose from his chair and replied, "Your Honor, when I put $1 in a vending machine and a Coke comes out, does the Coke belong to me or the machine?" A housemaid calls her boss and says, "I've got some good and bad news." "Well, give me the bad news first." "Your dog died, Mike." Say, "My dog died. When did that happen?" "After the horse kicked it." "Well, why in the world did the horse kick it?" "Because the stables were on fire." "The stables were on fire? I just built them." "Well, the flames managed to spread from the house somehow." "The house? The house caught fire? How the hell did that happen?" "A candle fell off of your dad's coffin." "My dad died? When did that happen?" "Soon after your mother's funeral, I believe." "My mother died too? How has such tragedy struck me on my holiday to Spain?" "Well, damn you, woman, what's the good news?" "Well, the heat from the flames brought the dandelions up high before the spring." In a dimly lit room filled with the faint scent of incense, the mystic gazed into her crystal ball, her expression somber. "I won't sugarcoat this," she said, her voice low and foreboding. "Prepare yourself. Your husband will meet a violent and tragic end before the year is out." The woman across from her gasped, her face pale and drawn. She stared at the mystic, then at the flickering candle casting eerie shadows on the walls, and finally down at her trembling hands. After a moment of silence, she took a deep breath, steadying herself. Though fear gripped her, there was one question she needed answered. Fixing the mystic with an unwavering gaze, she asked, her voice calm but deliberate, "Will I be found innocent?" I mowed the lawn today, and after finishing up, I sat down with a cold beer in hand. The day was absolutely beautiful, and the drink gave me the perfect excuse for some deep, uninterrupted thinking. As I sat there, my wife walked by and asked, "What are you doing?" "Nothing," I replied. Now, the reason I said nothing instead of just thinking is simple. If I had admitted to thinking, she would have followed up with, "Thinking about what?" And that would have led to a whole conversation about how men are, in fact, deep thinkers on a wide range of topics, something that often invites more questions than answers. Eventually, my thoughts wandered to one of life's great debates. Is giving birth more painful than getting kicked in the nuts? Women always insist that childbirth is far worse, but I can't help but wonder, how would they know? After another beer and a bit more deductive reasoning, I think I've cracked the code. Here's my conclusion. Getting kicked in the nuts is more painful than childbirth. Obviously, I have no first-hand experience of childbirth, but hear me out. A year or so after giving birth, many women say something like, "You know, it'd be nice to have another baby." But you will never hear a man say, "You know, I think I'd like another kick in the nuts." And with that, I rest my case. Time for another beer. Maybe a nap, too. Hillbilly Mom's Guide to Life. Dear son, I'm writing slow, 'cause I know your eyes get tired reading fast. We don't live where we did when you left. Your dad read somewhere that most accidents happen within 20 miles of home, so we moved somewhere. Don't ask where. The last folks here stole the mailbox numbers and took off like raccoons in a hurry. We got a washing machine. First day I put in 4 shirts, pulled the chain, and now I can't find a single one. I think they ran away to join the sock circus. It rained twice last week. The first time for 3 days, the second time for 4. The ducks are confused, but I guess they like drama. The coat you wanted? Aunt Sue said it was too heavy for the mail with all them shiny buttons, so we cut the buttons off and stuffed them in the pockets. If it arrives buttonless, just consider it modern style. Your cousin Earl fell in the syrup vat last week, tried to climb out, slipped back in, and now we call him Sticky Earl. He's happy and delicious looking. Uncle Jim tried fishing in the bathtub. Caught a rubber duck, swore it was a trophy bass. He's bragging nonstop. 3 of your friends tried to race lawnmowers down the hill. Only one made it. The other 2 got stuck in the mud, so we held a tiny memorial with garden gnomes. Your sister had a baby this morning. Don't know if it's a boy or girl yet, so don't buy the crib just in case we get twins. That's all for now. If you don't get this letter, holler, and I'll send another. Probably written in crayon this time. Love, Mom. My girlfriend told me we needed a dog for home security. You know, she said, something big and scary that'll keep bad guys away at night. So, I took her to this fancy pet store. They had every breed you could imagine. German Shepherds, Rottweilers, even a poodle that looked like it drove a Tesla. Then she saw him. A chubby dog with a beard and a belly like he just came back from an all-you-can-eat buffet. She squealed, "Oh, he's so cute. I want this one." I looked at it. "Babe, why does this dog have a full-grown beard?" She didn't care. She was already hugging it. The seller stepped in and said, "His name's Doggy, top-tier protection dog, but he's got needs." "What kind of needs?" I asked. "Well," he said, "Doggy eats 2 full rotisserie chickens a day. Breakfast, 1 large tub of Greek yogurt. Lunch, chicken fried rice, extra spicy. And at night, both of you need to massage his belly until he falls asleep. That's his routine." I blinked twice. "Sir, is this a dog or a spoiled celebrity?" "How much?" I asked carefully. He smiled. "Just $2,000. That's a deal." My jaw dropped. "You want me to drop $2,000 on a dog with a beard and a massage schedule? My girlfriend's student loans aren't even that high." But she gave me that puppy eyes look, so, of course, I caved. We took Doggy home. That night, she followed all the instructions, cooked his chicken, gave him yogurt, even turned on some spa music while rubbing his stomach. Doggy cleaned his plate like it was Thanksgiving dinner and laid down like a satisfied king. Then, I had an idea. Why wait for a real burglar? Let's test him. I still had some leftover 4th of July fireworks in the garage. I grabbed one, snuck out, and lit it up. Boom! Pop! Pop! The fireworks went off like a mini war zone. Guess what Doggy did? He didn't bark. He didn't growl. He passed out, on the lawn, straight up fainted like a Victorian lady in a drama movie. My girlfriend screamed, "Doggy, wake up. It's just fireworks." She was in tears, holding him like it was a soap opera. I said, You're crying over a dog that eats better than me and faints over noise? Next morning, while she was still sleeping, I carried Doggy to a guy downtown who loves big dogs, sold him for $10 and a large coffee. He even gave me a fist bump. I used the $10 to buy ice cream for my girlfriend. Vanilla double scoop. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the end of Doggy the beard-wearing guard dog. An elderly gentleman had just picked up his shiny new Corvette convertible. Feeling like a teenager again, he decided to test what the car could do. As soon as he hit the highway, he pressed the gas, 80 miles, then 90, the wind rushing through the few silver strands left on his head. He was loving it, but in his rearview mirror, red and blue lights lit up. A state trooper was hot on his tail. Instead of slowing down, he panicked and hit the gas even harder. 100, then 110, 120 miles. Suddenly, reality set in. What am I doing? I'm a grandfather, not a getaway driver. He eased off the pedal and pulled over. The trooper approached, shaking his head, and said, "Sir, my shift ends in half an hour, and it's Friday. If you can give me one reason, just one, that I've never heard before for why you were speeding, I'll let you off with a warning." The old man chuckled and said, "Well, officer, years ago my wife ran away with a state trooper. I thought you were bringing her back." The trooper paused now, and then burst out laughing. "Have a great day, sir. Drive safe." At the village psychiatric center. Doctor: "So, what are you holding there?" Patient, grinning: "My book. Took me 5 years to write it, 600 pages. Doctor: "Amazing! What's it about?" Patient: "Well, page 1. A brave knight saddles his donkey and begins his journey to the mountains." Doctor: "And the last page?" Patient: "He reaches the mountains and takes a nap." Doctor: "Okay, and the remaining 598 pages?" Patient clears throat proudly. Clop, clop, cloppity clop, clop, clop. Doctor, confused: "What is that supposed to be?" Patient, dead serious: "The sound of the donkey walking. Every single step." Doctor, blinking: "But why so many pages?" Patient: "Realism. We don't skip the journey around here." Doctor: "And who's going to read this masterpiece?" Patient, smiling proudly: "Oh, I'll post it on Facebook. People love long stories with zero plot. Some are reading it right now and don't even know how to stop."